I'm Rod Warner, and I live in Sarasota, and my credentials are I've been on the MPO Citizens Advisory Committee for over 10 years, been chair of the committee twice, been through the Downtown Mobility Study in Sarasota, and wanted to dispel the notion that Sarasota wants to crash the Venice ByPass widening so it gets money to do what it wants to do. I have argued against six-laning 301 through Sarasota because of the same reason I would argue against six-laning the Venice ByPass for a number of reasons. The other thing is I have no vested interest. I don't own any business. I'm just a student who has tried to pay attention through a lot of years since my son wrote his master thesis on new urbanism, and I read that and became interested in this subject. It's about vehicles and it's about lights, but it's about how humans behave. It's about how human beings act in the situations in which they are. If you, and it's counterintuitive when you begin thinking about that in traffic. And I drove up and down both Business 41 and Bypass 41 several times today. And since this has been on the agenda for Venice for 20 years, really, an MPO priority, the character of the Venice universe, I understand, and what my daughter tells me, who is one of your consultants on your comprehensive plan, is that Venice has changed through the years. And the balance between Venice ByPass and the Venice business, that character has changed, and a roadway isn't isolated by itself. It involves a lot of people who are in businesses and in residence, and what I see here is the same that we had in Sarasota on the Bayfront when we went through a mobility study trying to figure out what to do. And in looking around at other places in USA, we recognized what we had was a conflict of use. We had people who wanted to go through Sarasota, and we had a lot of local residents who wanted to, some of them, just walk across the street to the Bayfront. And it was too scary to do it when the traffic speed limit is 45 miles an hour, which it is on your Venice ByPass, and it's 35 miles per hour here on your Business 41. What I've learned checking other states and how they have dealt with the same conflict of use is counterintuitive, is that if you've gotten a ticket for failure to maintain an assured clear distance because you were too close to the car in front of you, and the faster you are going, the more space you need between you and the car and next to you to maintain an assured clear distance. And traffic engineers, which will be in the Bayfront connectivity when it's done, it will be posted 30 miles an hour between the intersections. And immediately you hear, how in the world can you get me through that corridor quicker by making me slow down? It's because the space between the vehicles is closer, and by using in Sarasota a series of roundabouts so that nobody really, the speed within a roundabout, which will be the same out here at Venice Avenue and Jacaranda, inside will be about 22 miles an hour. Nobody stops, there's no red lights. An expert one told me, and it sunk in, that when people slow down, they become more civil. And you give right away, and you let people go in. Your alternatives, I see my light here is running out. You really don't have a corridor problem that requires widening. You have an intersection management problems, and that's what other states do when they have a conflict of use, a corridor with a lot of intersections, is focus on the intersections, not the distance between. If the FDOT has two alternatives, Sarasota County has to deal with that. One is the advanced traffic management system, which is a bunker at Sarasota Airport, and like an airport, they're looking at monitors and managing key intersections, so they manage those lights constantly depending on what the demand is at the intersection. That's an alternative. A roundabout is also an alternative, and you'll see how that works when Venice Jacaranda is open.
Thank
But
you, Mr. Warner.
you do have alternatives to think about.
Thank you.
That's it, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.